What's up, party people? It is Michael from Aurora Knife and Tool, and I'm excited today to do something that I don't think I've ever seen anybody do before, and that is to provide for you an honest review of something that I made. So I'm going to do my absolute best to look at this as an outside observer. Of course, I'm going to give you like the ins and outs of where things came from, and even if it's something that I don't like, why it's something that we went with anyway. But I want to try to do my absolute best to do just like a gut level, honest review of Snarf. Now, if you're interested in Snarf, you can get in on the pre-order. It is at getsnarfed.com. And I'll talk a little bit about what I was aiming for with this knife, where I feel like we nailed it, where I feel like we missed the mark. And yeah, just gonna go from there. Now, I will say I just filmed this video one time before, and it was like an hour and 20 minutes long. So let's see if I can do it a little bit faster. So first I'll say about Snarf, which is something that the knife was never intended to necessarily be. Well, not never, but like not initially, is a bottle opener. And so I opened up my trusty Coca-Cola here a minute ago. Oh, I forgot the intro.
This is the part of the video when we wait for the intro to be over. We don't skip ahead because we're afraid we'll go too far. Hit rewind and have to listen to it again.
How was that? Yeah, okay. On to the Coca-Cola. So I popped it off. I swear I did. Maybe I'll throw in the video of me actually doing it so you'll believe me. But it's crazy to me the way that Snarf, just the geometry on this, it basically lifts the cap without doing any damage to the cap. And so that was something that I'm kind of a weird soda person. And a weird person and a weird person who likes weird sodas. And so I like keeping the caps, but they're always like mangled when you're done. And I absolutely love as a bottle opener that it doesn't mess up the cap. In fact, you can put it back on. Now I need to try it with other things other than Coca-Cola, which is what I've tried it with thus far. But yeah, at least for that, it lifts it without actually mangling it. So that's cool. And of course, that was one of the things that I did with the design. I was like, okay, I'd like for it to be functional as a tool, even if it doesn't have a blade. And so I also wanted initially for it to be TSA friendly. So, hey, you can carry Snarf with you. You know, it's a great knife that you can bring on a plane. Now, that's not true. Because after I designed it, I, Googled it, like, can you bring a utility knife without a blade in it to the airport? No, you can't. They will, well, you can if you want to donate it to the TSA. So I would not recommend bringing Snarf to the, in your, put it in your checked luggage, just like you would a regular knife, because unfortunately, anything that could have a blade in it, they don't want. That doesn't make any sense to me at all, but yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what I love about Snarf. So number one of the things that I love, I'm kind of a cheapskate myself. And so what I love about Snarf is that it's the first knife that we've been able to offer under $200. It's actually under $100. When we did truffles and hive mind, we used S35V in steel, titanium. Those were the only options, and we can't get those to you really under we just barely under 200 for hive mind and truffles. So this one we were really hoping to be able to achieve a budget option, and it did. I mean, as budgety as you can get while being a small company in the U.S. Now, of course, these are designed in the U.S., but they are manufactured overseas. They are manufactured through Sikio and DreamTech. So they kind of have a partnership where they co-own the roundhouse locking mechanism. And so they're designed kind of between the two of those factories. Kind of Sikio handles the front end. DreamTech does the bulk of the manufacturing, and then Sikio handles the back end of like QC, boxing up, all that kind of thing. So We were able to do a more of a budget line with the G10 and the aluminum. Those both are, I believe this is 69 and 79. And then the titanium is 99. So still getting a really nice action utility knife for under 100 in titanium is an achievement. I mean, if you Google titanium utility knife, a lot of them are over 100. There are a few that aren't, but yeah. So another thing that I feel like we really nailed on this is the ergos. Like, this just feels like I have nothing in my hand. I mean, I find it super comfortable in multiple grips. This is definitely my favorite. I will say that I do wish that the jimping went further up the spine, because I do hold it most naturally right here. But the reason that we didn't is, and this is working with Frank over at DreamTech, since he's handling the manufacturing side of it, the issue is, this blade grabbler is in two pieces, and this piece here is, this piece on this side is very thin because, it's split down the middle, but you can see this side's actually thicker because this is where the mechanism is housed. And if you do these notches along the opening hole, it's just kind of asking for warping during the heat treating process. And so we didn't do that. I am going to ask him, though. I hadn't thought of this until I just was doing the review on it. I wonder if we could extend it up here. Maybe not, because of where the jab lock is, because that's, again, really thin. But it would be nice if you had some jimping, up further. But in terms of ergos, I feel like we really nailed it. It looks like I sent it to a friend initially, who's a knife reviewer. He's like, it doesn't look very ergonomic, or like very user friendly. And it's because I had displayed it to him like this. I don't know if this is to show, but like up like this, and he's like, it looks like you'd have to have your hand in a weird position, but in reality, it's kind of natural. In fact, it's got some of the same, I just noticed this a little bit ago, but it's got some of the same ergos as the Husky design does. But yeah, so I feel like we nailed it in that department. In the fidget factor, gosh, I mean, that's part of the problem with this design is I am a fidgeter more than anything, and I just, that's how I use my knives. And so nailed it in the fidget department. I mean, the middle flick, I don't know of, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong on this. I don't know of another utility knife that has the middle flick option. Some of them you can make it work, but I don't know of any. Like, I think the Elementum here, I think I can middle flick it. Well, I thought I could. Well, I don't know. Maybe a manlier flicker than me would be able to do it, but not so much. So the rear flipper, the front flipper, you just got to get your hand out of the way of this. If you put your hand here, it's going to get in the way. Of course, the button is fine, and then the middle flick. I don't know of another one that has that opening hole in it. So I feel like we really nailed it in the fidget factor department. I think in the blade removal department, we did really well. I think that that's where we start to see some trade-offs, because with the jab lock, we named it the jab lock because this is the roundhouse lock, and it's smaller, so it's a jab lock. So what's great about this is it is easy to take out. This is the blade that we will, we'll have a black blade with Aurora knife and tool on it. Well, just Aurora, that logo. But we're going to put it up in the corner where it's hidden once it's inside. But yeah, I think that the ability to take it in and out is really nice. I have had some times, and in fact, that's actually a reason why we originally had done this locking mechanism here up on the spine because I thought that would be cool. The problem is if you're cutting into something and then you twist, you can hit the edge of that button and disengage it pretty easily. It's pretty easy to do that. And so I wanted to take it off the spine and put it on the side here. And I've not lost it on any cuts. I have in doing like stab tests. Now, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend you do a lot of stabbing with your utility knife anyway, but you will do some just if you're stabbing into cardboard and running down. And so I don't want you to lose it. So I have talked with Frank about recessing the button and maybe making it a little bit stiffer. But even so, this is kind of where you get your trade-off, right? Because the Civivi Elementum, which is a utility blade that I really, really like, they went with the screw, which, I mean, of course, one of the great things about the screw is, I mean, it's super sturdy, right? Even if you didn't have this piece here, you could just do the screws. And it allows them to have this really slim profile. Although, I mean, I don't know. To me, this is the better looking side of this design. Why would you not put this here and this here? Anyway, it's an aside, but that's what I would have done. But and it is exactly what we tried to do. Because like, okay, if we're going to have a lot of mechanisms and stuff, let's put it on the back side. But yeah, so the upside of this is you don't need a tool to take it out. The downside is it does come out easier. I mean, you know, this guy over here has got like instructions, a little picture. You know, you put your right foot in, you put your right foot out. I can never even remember. He's even got arrows, pull, remove, flip down. I mean, you get it. It's something like that. And this guy, this is a lot more user friendly. It's just I think it's a lift up. Yeah. You know, but to try to do like a real slimline design, I feel like we did really well in that department, but it is a trade-off because it is possible, you know, we're trying to make it less possible, but it is possible to lose the blade unintentionally because it's easier to take out. So, you know, I've said this before in like just talking with people about designs, but there really is sort of this like push-pull, like, you know, equal and opposite reaction kind of relationship that you have when you're designing something where it's like, okay, I mean, you're trying to find that trade-off to say, okay, if I'm going to have to lose one of these two, which one do I want? And for me, and just from hearing the reviews, because I liked this and I didn't really see a problem with it, but I also don't use my knives like people that really use their knives. You know, I love knives. I carry knives. I use them occasionally, but mostly I'm not a hard use knife guy. And so I'm like, okay, well, look, if most of the people online are saying like, we don't like having to have you know, carry around a T8 to take this apart, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen and do this. So I feel like we nailed it in those departments. I think we did really well with the button. And with the price tag, with the fidget factor, I think we did a really great job with the overall profile. I'm all about silhouettes, and this is one of the silhouettes that I was inspired by. This is our Megoptera. This is a knife that never made it to this is a prototype that never made it to market. We never got the action quite right with the OEM that we were working with, and then by the time we were still working on this, I ran into Laura. Oh, gosh. I mean, just the difference between this opening and, oh, gosh, it's just so clean and crisp. And I don't feel bad bragging on the roundhouse lock because I didn't design it. It's, like I said, it's co-owned by Sikio and DreamTech. But, man, it is definitely my favorite locking mechanism because it combines that super crisp detent with that drop shut action. Oh man, like butter. So look, this is Yeah, it's super nice. So I guess in this one I'm including the fidget factor, but just the nice, but the overall profile. I wanted something that was distinct. I wanted something that was functional. I wanted something that looked like a knife, which is one of the reasons why. And I wanted to go with a black blade because I wanted to be this. Like here's one of the first black blades we tried. I wanted it to look from a distance like just a regular knife. In fact, one of the best compliments that I've gotten so far is one of the guys on Melissa Backwood's video was like, at first I was like, what's the big deal? It's just another knife. And then I noticed that's a utility blade. And that's exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping that it would just have the silhouette of a really nice EDC knife. In fact, you know, it's got some kinds of like, you know, it shares some vibes with the mini sheepdog. But it just looks like a standard. I was trying to push the button. There ain't no button on that. Okay. But it just has sort of a modern EDC look to it, feel to it. And then we snuck a utility blade in. And so I really feel like we nailed it on the looks department. Now, speaking of the looks and the usability of it, I am really proud of the thickness of the blade grabbler. This is the blade grabbler right here. And you can see, I mean, it's virtually identical to the spine on truffles as compared to, you know, one of these guys. But one thing that I wish we had been able to do is, you see how on this side, how much thinner it is here? I wish we'd been able to taper this down more so that whenever you're cutting something, you don't kind of run into that shelf. I mean, in reality, like it doesn't actually stop anything. Cut myself trying to cut on camera. But yeah, it's you know, it's one of those things like, again, it's the trade-off. If we made this more angular, we'd have to find a place to stop, which might look kind of weird. And then if we did carry it all the way around here, then it would make the bottle opener less resilient. So it's like, okay, well, you know, this is kind of the trade-off. But so I really think we nailed it in that department as well. It's just like the overall looks. And it just feels like a modern EDC. Now, one area where I would say we continue to struggle, which is the number of parts that are involved. At last count, I think there's like 28, 29 parts involved in this guy. And that's a lot of pieces for something that is supposed to be like a hard use knife. You know, one that you're going to get a lot of guck in. I mean, I have no idea how many pieces are in these guys, but maybe, you know, I'm assuming it's fewer. But yeah, that's just sort of if you've ever seen a roundhouse lock taken apart, there's a lot in there. And then here there's 4 or 5 parts inside the blade grabbler as well. I'll do a separate video that has a disassembly so you can kind of see that. But yeah, I feel like we did really well on a lot of things, but man, the number of parts in here is just, it's a lot. Speaking of doing the disassembly, this is something I'll point out when I actually do a separate disassembly video, but I'll just kind of point out here. Oh, speaking of, these are T6. I don't love that. And knife people don't love that. That's one of the things people are going to get dinged for. So I actually have asked them in the production version to go ahead and do T8s here because there's not really any reason that you shouldn't. I also do like that they're flush. I think people will complain about there not being a deep carry option. Although I don't know, I can give it some thought, see if we can come up with something. Oh, but then also people I think will complain about this ridging here, but and it's on the G10 as well. On the one side, it's going to makes it a little bit harder to get in and out of the pocket. It's not crazy difficult to get in, or it doesn't make it crazy more difficult. It's actually pretty easy to get in and out of the pocket. But I think that extra little resistance may bug some people, but I wanted it to be truly ambidextrous, and I didn't want to just like leave a blank spot here on the clip for my lefties. You know, when they put the clip over here, now they just got a big blank spot. And so I wanted it to look like it's a very similar experience for lefties and righties. Speaking of lefties, I think that the actions, some lefties have asked me like, hey, can you switch the button to the other side? I'm like, what are you talking about? I had actually considered putting the button on the opposite side to begin with, like for right-handed people, because I like being able to keep my thumb in place and just use my forefinger. I mean, you got 4 fingers on this side, you got 1 on this side. Why would you want to have a design where you have to move your thumb because you've got 4 fingers on one side? Why not it be something that you do with this one? So lefties, I feel like lefties get the better end of the design because they get to keep 4 fingers this way and add the finger there. So yeah, I mean, again, it's trade-off. I think people have just come to like the way these look. They're stylistically. That's the other thing too, is I really wanted it to kind of feel like they belong together, that this belongs in a family of knives. Like these are at least, they may not be kissing cousins, but they related, you know. Yeah, so let's see here. Speaking of the finishes, that's another thing that I feel like is it's another trade-off. Okay, so we did these color fade, like this one is a purple to black. We've got another one that's a yellow to orange sunburst. The problem is when you do an anodization on that fades like this, that's like a gradient, you wind up, you're not able to do as hard of an anodization, so it's not as resilient. You can see here, we've already lost a chunk. Now I will say that's not a paint chip, that's an actual, like, I dropped it on the ground kind of chunk. And I did take this apart in the previous video and was actually shocked because I expected it, because of the wear that I've seen on the sunburst one, I expected it to be less resilient. But I was digging pretty hard when I got these here. But in general, you know, like I'm just on this one side over here, I'm not really getting any marks. And you know, it's a T6 bit. I guess I could use a T8 bit if that mattered, but I would consider this like coin in your pocket kind of damage, which is, there isn't any. So I am happy about that. The same amount of pressure that it took me to scratch this titanium here, which you can kind of see is faint, was the same that it took me to get, if you see a little line right there. So I would say, at least in my tests, it's been about as resilient as the finish on titanium, and I'm fine with that. I had actually sent out a message to all my backers saying like, hey, look, you know, the finish is not as resilient. And I did ask Lefty EDC, he should be posting a video soon of him doing a little kind of a demo on one, like as in demolition, not demonstration. And we'll see what his results are, but I'm fairly pleased with it. I think for the trade-off in the looks department, it's not just being a solid purple. I think that the slightly, you know, less resilient finish is fine for me. But I understand if people don't, you know, they want something more resilient. You know, do the G10, do the titanium, but the titanium is going to scratch as well. All right, what have I not talked about here? We do have the little hidden lanyard. I don't care about lanyards. I think we win in the department that we have a lanyard hole and I don't have to look at it. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, just, you know, story-wise, like I said, I just wanted to produce a knife that felt like it was an Aurora knife and tool design, that felt like it was a real modern EDC, that was functional, that was easy to get in and out. And I, you know, humbly speaking, I think we knocked it out of the park. I mean, I'm very pleased with it. I'm trying to think, you know, what all other things I would change. Oh, one of the things I like about it too is we've got this, we've added this collar here around the pivot screw. So now you have sort of a symmetry between the pivot button and collar and the pivot screw and collar. And the collar, clip filler, clip, and backspacer, we're going to have anodized titanium anti-mascus for it. This is the one for truffles, but just, we'll have a handful of color options for it. So, we've got 6 options, which is the most colorways we've offered, both for truffles. So far, we've only offered 2. For hive mind, technically, we've only done 1. It's just the different color of titanium or copper buttons. So the variety, the ability to customize with the different anodized pieces, I think these are great things. Most of the things, like I said, that I don't like, we are either actively trying to fix, or like the we're swapping the T6s to T8s. Oh, I'm not switching to T8s on these though, because there's very little wear that these guys are going to get in terms of there's very few reasons to take them apart if they're not hard to get in and out, and I just don't think it's a problem, and I just want to keep them small. Oh, I'm also switching. One thing I didn't notice was they had switched in version 2. They had switched the screw heads to what I like to call the port side, the port and starboard, to make it less confusing. If you're familiar at all with boat terminology, and I know you are, so we're going to be flipping the screws to the starboard side. Sorry, lefties. But yeah, just overall, this is the utility knife that I would want to carry. This is, for my use case, which is loving knives, carrying them all the time, and cutting sometime, I think it's perfect. I really want to get some feedback from folks that use their knives, heavily. I've had some people say, hey, I work in a shipping department. I think some folks in carpeting, that sort of thing. I would love to get some feedback from people that are using it in a more heavy day-to-day use. But overall, I'm really pleased with it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I don't like about it. I'm going to do the disassembly as well. And so I might see some things in the disassembly that I've forgotten here. Oh, one thing that you'll see in the disassembly is inside here, to keep it from being getting loose, the blade rattling, there's a little spring in there, and it's really small, and it's gonna rust. Even though we're gonna have it coated, it's gonna rust. And so that's a potential weak point, because you're gonna be getting guck in here. So you're gonna have to make sure you keep it clean. But anywho, I'm really pleased with Snarf. I really appreciate those of you who made it happen. And if you're more than likely, if you're seeing this in the next handful of months, hopefully there'll still be some space for late backers. But just want to say thanks so much for everybody who made Snarf happen. Looking forward to getting Snarf into your hands. Looking forward to getting it out to more reviewers, to get some more feedback. But overall, I love it. And the things I don't like about it, I'm actively working on trying to fix, or I have just come to terms with because I recognize it's a trade-off. But anyway, thanks guys so much for taking the time to watch it. I did this video in less than half the time that I did the first time, although my phone did die. But hey, we lost our desktop version, but it's okay. We almost got to the end. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. And if you want to pick up Snarf, you can get it at getsnarfed.com. We appreciate the support. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time.